Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to the River Road Unitarian Universalist Congregation. My name is Reverend Connie Simon, and I am your interim minister and your worship associate today. If this is your first time here, welcome. We're glad you're here. Hey, YouTube. Good morning. If you're here in the building, stop by the welcome table so we can get connected with you. Be sure to join us after the service for coffee. Just follow the crowd down the hall that way. If you're on YouTube and you have questions, please feel free to chat with the online host or visit our website at rruuc.org for ways to connect with us. As I said, there are lots of things going on in this space over the coming days. There are 3 things that you can do right after the service. There's a young adult small ministry group in room 32. The Earth Ministry is meeting in room 23 and online. That will be a hybrid event. And the chairs of finance, financial stewardship, and endowment will be holding an info session on RRUUC Money Matters directly after today's service for anyone who's interested. Please note that despite what was in the e-weekly, that location has changed, and that event will be here in the sanctuary after service. Also, the youth group Murder Mystery Dinner Theater, Slippery Slope, is this Saturday at 6:30. Tickets are available through Realm or through the QR code on the flyers that are placed around the building. Come and help figure out who done it. Details for all of our programs and upcoming events can be found on our website at rruuc.org. Come on.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Josh Moore, and on behalf of the Ministerial Search Committee, I'm glad to have a moment with you all. You've been hearing a lot about B4 lately. It stands for Break Barriers, Build Beliefs, and it is a workshop offered by the Unitarian Universalist Association for congregations in search. The workshop is our closing chapter in our search and will prepare us to welcome a new minister by building shared language around recognizing bias, surfacing unconscious assumptions, and strengthening our ability to respond to subtle acts of exclusion. I know some of us feel that we may have done this work before, and that may be true. But this workshop is also a signal to our ministerial candidates that River Road is as welcoming and open as possible, and the candidates are paying attention. The workshop runs from 8:30 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. on Saturday, March 28th, with a lunch break from 10:30 to 11:30. The search committee is providing lunch, so please sign up through Realm or stop by our table in the fellowship hall during coffee hour today. Walk-ins are welcome, but signing up helps us plan for food, and we're also offering childcare. As a bonus, our UUA facilitator, Reverend Eric Kamenetsky, will be preaching on Sunday, March 29th, reflecting on what we learned together the day before. Please plan to join us for both days. The search committee has been working hard on your behalf, not just to find a minister who meets River Road in its current moment, but who will help us become who we aspire to be. We hope you'll be part of that journey by joining us at this workshop. Thank you, and we hope to see you there.
Thank you, Shuai. We begin our time together by lighting our chalice, the chosen symbol of our faith, with these words by Rebecca Savage. Rebecca is now a UU minister, but back in the day, she grew up here at River Road Unitarian Universalist Congregation. Her words, "We light our flaming chalice as a beloved people united in love and thirsting for restorative justice. May it melt away the tethers that uphold whiteness in our midst. May it spark in us a spirit of humility. May it ignite in us radical love that transforms our energy into purposeful action. This is a chalice of audacious hope. This chalice shines a light on our shared past, signaling our intention to listen deeply, reflect wisely, and move boldly toward our highest ideals." I'm going to introduce our hymn right now, and some of you may not know, but our director of music, Cliff Harden, has written so many pieces that he plays here on Sunday and that the choir sings. And recently, his wife, who you may know but not, Jan Elliker, has collaborated with him on a lot of songs. She writes the lyrics, he writes the music, and we're going to be very fortunate today. We'll be singing together one of those hymns. So Cliff is going to play the tune once so we all get to know it, and then we're going to join along. So please sing with us.
Today, the service is all about telling our stories. Last week, you heard from a couple of our participants on the West Virginia Service Learning trip who've been on the most trips. Since that first trip in 2014, there have been 12 trips, including a special spring one last spring because of they had a really bad flood, and a few of us decided to go help them out. Today I'm going to talk about the history of the trip and how it connects to our RE program and how it connects to social justice and our UU values. Before 2014, our youth and some adults were heading down to El Salvador for 2 weeks each summer. It was a great experience for them, and it was expensive. And when the Peace Corps decided that it was not safe there, we also decided it was not safe for our youth. We needed a new experience, a different experience to have that same sense of working with another community. So a friend of mine had been going to Appalachia since his teen years, and he had brought his own teens on the same trip, and I thought that was very cool. So, and I'd also had a colleague who'd taken people to a place that we go to now called Big Creek People in Action in War, West Virginia. It's really in Coretta, but technicalities. Coretta is one street in this neighborhood. It would be like 1 street long. There it is. So this is the building we stay in Coretta. That first year, I took the coming of age class to check it out, and it blossomed from there. We met the people who run Big Creek People in Action and the people we were helping. As Evan said last week, they are incredibly generous, kind people, and they're not like us in their politics, in their economy, and in their lifestyle, among many other things. The county we go to is McDowell. It's the southernmost county in the state of West Virginia, and it is also the poorest in the entire country. It's mostly a welfare county that used to be a proud coal mining city. Where we stay in Coretta has running water most of the time. That's another story. But they don't have sewers. So when you flush the toilet in the center, we've checked this out. You run around to the other side of the building, you can watch it all go out into the creek. And there are in War, West Virginia, where we go to get our groceries, where the little town is, there is no potable water coming out of anyone's taps, but there are sewers. In the USA, no potable water. As privileged people, we like to be in places where we can make big decisions. We're poised to make big decisions in the world, especially here inside the DC Beltway. So a huge benefit for us is to hear other points of view that we can think about when we're making those big decisions. Because of their rich coal history, we heard about how they didn't really like all those environmental laws that were going into effect. It made mining very expensive. We occasionally get to go to an active mine, like you can see here, and hear from the owners about how policies affect them and affect how they operate. Yes, we fix up homes to make them more safe and warm and livable. We also hear stories from the people about how area hospitals are closing, shrinking, how it sometimes takes hours to get to a hospital with the right equipment for their needs, how there's only one ambulance on this side of the mountain. And we hear stories of joy and beauty. The former director, Marcia Timpson, would take us to the recreation area known as Berwind Lake to let us soak in the beauty and hear the stories. I always come back with dozens and dozens of stories, so if you ever want to hear an extra story, I have tons of them. So how was this religious education? Last year, we had an equal number of high school youth, young adults who had been going on the trip for many years and started as youth, and adults my age. It's about equal split. And we were all learning from each other and all working together to build things like the ramp you'll see next. The congregation really is the curriculum. How we work together, respecting the inherent dignity and worth of each person and of the people we're helping is RE. Listening and respecting the needs of the people we're helping instead of telling them what they need, that's also RE. Learning about how communities outside of our bubble here in Montgomery County are amazing, full of everything about life, and how we don't have to think alike to love alike, or to even be friends with each other. All of that is RE. In a time where outside forces are trying to divide our country, we continue to find ways to come together, to honor each other's humanity. Our 13th trip is this summer. I hope we can continue to learn and share more and more of our stories. And now, children and youth are dismissed to their classes.
No music to sing them out. Go now in peace, go now in peace. May the light of joy surround you everywhere, everywhere you may go. There we go. This is that time in our service when we contemplate the joys and the sorrows that have been on our hearts and minds since last we were together. We know of all the things that have happened in the world, too many to list, so many that we would be here for hours. Some so devastating that I don't know if we could get through the list without crying. It's been a rough week in our world in terms of violence, in terms of politics, just in terms of bias and discrimination and loss. And this year, or this week, I think we've had all of our seasons in 1 week. Right? We've gone from 85 degrees to a snowy blizzard, to rain, to thunderstorm, to windswept power outages. We've seen it all this week. And through it all, somewhere in there, interspersed in all of those moments, we had joys. We had moments where we were able to smile, moments where we were able to laugh, moments where we might even have been happy if we let ourselves admit it. So with all of that on our hearts and minds and in our souls, I offer you this prayer. We gather today in a long line of gatherers, those who came before us seeking the same things we seek: meaning, belonging, truth, and the courage to live by it. We give thanks for the ones who built this place, not just the walls and the windows, but the culture of care, the habits of welcome, the willingness to wrestle with hard questions and remain in community even while we do that. We honor their stories, including the ones we will hear today, not to enshrine them, not to make of them a museum we tend but do not inhabit, but to receive them as gifts, as testimony, as proof that people like many of us have faced uncertain times before and found their way through together. History is not a weight we carry, it is the ground beneath our feet. And so we do not ask to live in the past, but to be strengthened by it, to draw from its deep well when our own courage runs thin, to remember that this congregation has already survived things that once seemed unsurvivable, has already changed in ways that once seemed impossible, and has already loved more expansively than it knew how to. May the stories we hold become the stories that hold us, especially now when the present asks so much and the future feels unsteady. May we lean on what has been to find the confidence for what must be. And may we be, for those who come after us, the kind of ancestors they will be grateful for. Amen and blessed be. Please join me now in a moment of silent meditation, reflection, and prayer. We practiced that. We call that our parting the Red Sea moment. It was good, wasn't it? In support of our congregation and the community beyond, our morning offering will now be gratefully received. And we do so mindful of the fact that we draw water from wells we did not dig, and we pick fruit from trees we did not plant. And this is as it should be, so long as we dig and plant for those who come after. If this is your first time visiting us, please feel free to let the baskets pass you by. Your presence is your gift to us. To learn more of how and why we give of our financial treasure, you can check out our website at rruuc.org. You can give right there on the main page by clicking on the blue Give Online button. You can also give on Realm, and you can text to give. The text to give number is 73256. So text RRUUC and the amount you'd like to give to the number 73256. You'll receive a link to complete your donation. Thank you for sharing your time, your talents, and your treasures.
Good morning. I'm Bennett Harmon, and if I may, I'd like to share with you how River Road has been a part of my personal history. And I think it'll make clear why I'm so bullish on supporting River Road financially, and why I hope you will be so as well. My history here began when our kids were 5 and 3 years old, and my wife, Liz Hanley, and I were looking to give them some religious grounding. It was not entirely simple. I was proud of my Jewish heritage, but I did not find that it provided the spiritual sustenance that I was seeking. Nevertheless, we decided to give it a try by going to a Jewish Sabbath service. The theme of the sermon was the history of the suffering of our people, the Jewish people, through the centuries, which I did not find to be a particularly universal theme, nor one that I could expect her to relate to. She, in turn, was a very lapsed Catholic. Her mother had decided to quit the Catholic Church when Liz was 7 because the Pope had strongly advocated to poor women in developing countries not to use birth control. That said, she and I had attended a wedding of some friends at the Fairfax UU congregation, which we found absolutely lovely. And it hit all the right notes for us. So we decided those UUs might be onto something. But we were looking for something closer to home and landed here and never looked back. The sermons spoke to us, and we had also heard great things about the Our Whole Lives program, OWL, and the thought that our kids would have caring, responsible adults willing to answer all of their questions about sexuality and so much more gave us tremendous peace of mind. Now, our kids going through that intense experience bonded with their peers in the OWL program, and that continued into the high school youth group. We could not have foreseen how important that would be when our oldest child, Samson, came out as transgender at the age of 16. That was 15 years ago, so Sam was a bit of a trailblazer at their high school. Now, even without that, adolescence is already pretty fraught. So having a safe space of peers and friends here at River Road during that period was frankly priceless. Meanwhile, I had become more involved in activities here and took great joy from being one of the original participants in the spiritual storytelling classes. And it's hard to imagine, but I've been participating in that for 18 continuous years. It's been tremendous. And what it has done is reawakened my long dormant love of writing, and it's also allowed me to process and draw meaning from a number of my life experiences, some from the distant past, and sometimes from the present day, such that when I was going through a challenging period, I'd think, this will make an interesting story. In 2013, I participated in a lay-led service on Father's Day, and used for the service, my portion of it was a story that I developed for the class, honoring my father and my relationship with him. Some of you who were members at the time may recall that I used as props his World War II Army jacket and the white tuxedo jacket from his 1947 wedding. Later that year, I brought my laptop to our Thanksgiving meal up in Philadelphia, and on the margins of the meal, I showed him my portion of the service where I delivered the story. And he looked at me with delight, and he said, "I didn't know you felt that way about me," which I was very touched, as was he. He had a persistent cough during that gathering, which ended up being a sign of a very, very serious side effect of his medication. And a week later, he died. So it was a tremendous gift to have been able, before it was too late, to share with him those thoughts that had been evoked here at River Road. At some point, I took stock of the fact that a high proportion of my friends overall were people I had met through being here at River Road. And that includes a men's group that I've been part of, was asked to join a number of years ago. We've become a real band of brothers, getting together monthly on a sort of potluck basis at each other's homes. We share our thoughts and feelings about the life experiences we're going through, family, health, career, retirement of late. A couple of times when I've come home, my wife has asked me, "So what was your discussion topic for the evening?" And I'd say, "Actually, we just did check-in the whole time." And she'd look at me with amazement and say, bunch of guys talking about their feelings all evening? What's up with that? Well, having that type of support is very rare and precious, and it proved particularly important recently to help us process the loss of one of our cherished brothers, Mark Hansen. Two particular observations. One is that, as I indicated, one of the initial impetuses for coming here was our children. But what Liz and I have found is that this is the gift that keeps on giving. We've been benefiting tremendously long after they left the nest. And second, the other initial draw was the sermons, which we enjoyed. But the reality is, most of the deep enrichment that we've gotten from this place has come from beyond Sunday morning, from participating in a wide range of things. For instance, I have volunteered for everything from teaching religious education to first graders to serving as chairman of the board. Now, I shared my particular set of experiences, which is unique, but I hope for those who have been coming here for a long time, it has brought to mind your own experiences, your personal story with River Road. If you are relatively new here, then I would hope that it has inspired you to think of the potential this place has for you. But either way, I think we can agree that this place is precious and very special, and not to be taken for granted. But it would not exist if we did not each contribute financially to it. Now, Liz and I have pledged religiously, if you will, each year, and we've increased our pledges over time as our means permitted. And we've also, in doing our estate planning, allocated a portion of our assets upon our passing to the River Road Endowment Fund. And you can hear and learn more about that after the service at the RUC Money Matters session. If you are among the 162 individuals and families who have already pledged to this year's campaign, thank you. That is fantastic. That number still represents less than 2/3 of the number of pledges we received last year, so we have a ways to go. So if you are, and by the way, we want to do better than last year. So if you are among those who haven't already pledged, please do so without any further delay. And I would also ask you to look into the endowment fund as a place to contribute. You can learn more about that. But either way, consider doing them both, because, well, it's for your own sake, and it could be part of your legacy to help future generations make River Road a part of their personal history. Thank you.
It's really hard to follow Edward Grieg and Cliff's arrangement. That song was absolutely beautiful. It filled this whole building. So thank you, choir and Cliff. So I'm Joan Zenzen, and I am thrilled to be here this morning with you. We named this entire service Telling Our Stories as a way to build personal connections between ourselves and our congregation during this time of the pledge season, to hopefully encourage people to pledge and to pledge generously. But there's another aspect of telling our stories, and that is trying to gather together these stories so that we can update the history of River Road. And I'll get into that a little bit later. So Bennett shared some wonderful stories about himself here at River Road, and I want to share one story with you about my time at River Road back in the early 2000s. At the time, my kids were in elementary school, and I was serving on the RE committee. Also at this time, the board was handing out awards for being great contributors to the congregation, and LNN was honoring people who were great leaders. And I thought to myself, well, we have a lot of great RE teachers contributing every week for our religious education for our kids, so let's honor them. So I was serving on the RE committee, and I went to a meeting, one of our meetings, and I gave my idea, let's have a special award for our RE teachers. And Ginger Luke, who's sitting up there, was the director of religious education at the time, and she exclaimed out, said yes, and we should name the award after Muriel Davies. Muriel Davies had been our very first staff member and religious educator here at River Road. She started in 1959 when our congregation started, and she retired in 1970. Amazingly, in the early 2000s, she was still alive. And so we contacted her and said, how comfortable are you with us naming this new award after you? And she said, yes, but so many people contribute to RE every year, and so I don't want you to just name one person each year. I want you to name a couple, more than one person, as recipients of this award. And that is what we did. So every year in the spring, we name more than one person, often many people, to the Muriel Davies Award for Religious Excellence, that's it, for contributions for religious excellence. The history of River Road goes back, like I said, to 1959. We're now 67 years old. I'm a historian, and I had the pleasure of writing both the 40th anniversary history and the 50th anniversary history of River Road. We're 67 now, and so we need to update that. And I told the board and I told the Financial Stewardship Committee that I was interested in updating it. But I want to gather all of our stories, not just what I might find in the annual reports and documents. So, you have index cards on your chairs and hopefully some pencils nearby. I invite you to turn to your neighbor and share a story about River Road, and then listen to them share a story that they remember about River Road. And then, if you could jot down that story with your name and email address on that index card, and we're going to collect them, and then I get to look at those stories and maybe contact you to get more information, but we're going to gather it all together and have a collaborative approach to writing this update for the River Road history. People online, if you could share in the chat, and then our online host will save those memories and send them to me that way. Now, if you don't want to have your memory saved for posterity, then don't fill out a card, obviously. But still tell your story with the person next to you, because it's great to share and to go ahead and remember why we're all connected to River Road, and hopefully we will help to build for the future of River Road. So now we're going to listen to a little bit of music, and I also have some slides that will show some of the past, especially ministers, but past people who have served our congregation, just a reminder of our wonderful history. Enjoy.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. I'm afraid we have to draw this portion to a close. Appreciate your enthusiasm in participating in the exercise. If all you had time to write down was your name, that's sufficient for Joan to follow up, and you could leave the notes on your chair before you leave. Joan and I wanted to introduce the final song, the closing hymn. It's one that we've selected. It is Blue Boat Home, familiar to you all. We know that it resonates deeply with many of us. I know that it lifts my heart to hear it, and it lifts my sights above my sort of daily concerns. When it refers to being here with my ship's companions, I think of this place as the ship, and you all as my companions. And when it refers to casting questions into the deep, I mean, that's what we do here. Joan?
Blue Boat Home. So both my kids were in the teen choir, and they sang Blue Boat Home several times as part of that choir. My eldest, Indy, had it memorized. During youth group, year after what was happening in the Harmon and Hanley family, my eldest was also going through a big transition and was finding a lot of support and strength by the youth group. During this time, Indy chose a new name, Indigo, and came out as non-binary. When they were choosing a new name legally, they chose Porter as a middle name. And they chose it because of the idea of port, which is referred to in Blue Boat Home, and saw that word as being a grounding force for them. So River Road for me, whenever I sing that song, reminds me of my eldest, but also the whole idea of port, home base, being a grounding for me, my son Aaron, and my husband Stuart, and of course for Indigo. So now we get to sing Blue Boat Home by Peter Mayer.
Willing and able.
Still I try.
Please be seated. Our Unitarian Universalist principles and values call us to live those principles and values out loud, not just to say them quietly, not just to say them, but to actually live them. In this way, we can be open-minded, open-hearted, spiritual communities that help people lead lives of justice, love, learning, and hope. This is the time when I tell you a couple of things you can do to embody that. One of them, of course, is to enroll in the B4 programming. That workshop is very important. And I want to share with you kind of why. This coming week, Anna, Adrian, and I will be in Asheville, North Carolina, at the UU Religious Professionals of Color Retreat. When this retreat started, it was because people who look like us were often not welcomed in the very congregations that we served. We were viewed as somehow different, special, the different ones, because we were able to fit in somehow. And that's wearing. So in the very beginning, 19 ministers were allowed to gather for this event. And then it was expanded to include the membership professionals and the office administrators and the religious educators and the UUA staff and the seminarians and the candidates for ministry and the retired ministers. At our gathering a couple of years ago, I looked around and saw there were 132 of us. 132 out of 1,000 congregations with all of their staff. We are still vastly underrepresented. And we still face issues in our own congregations, things that we shouldn't have to deal with. So it is important for us to gather together where we can be our full and authentic selves. We talked a lot this morning about how folks can be their full and authentic selves. Well, for some of us, that isn't always completely possible. So this week, think of the three of us. Think of us being in Asheville, getting our opportunity to renew ourselves and restore our faith and to recharge with other UU religious professionals of color. And if you haven't already registered, please register for the B4 training. Please do that. Do it for the congregation, do it for the next minister, and do it for me, for Adrian, for Anna, for Luz, for Mr. Hahn, for Kamini, please, and Aruni, and Shwai, right? And Danny, and Brian. Please do it for all of us. Bennett, Bennett, Chalice.
We close our time of worship by extinguishing our chalice and reading aloud together these words by Elizabeth Sell Jones. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
As we prepare to leave this place, I invite you to look around at one another. Just take a look, see who's here. Remember the feeling that you have right now. Remember the joy at seeing one another's faces. Remember the connections that you hold so dear. Go in peace. Go in love. Blessed be.